Welcome to the second part of video. Here we are explaining about the working example of Aurras workflow. Moving to the prerequisite part. First, we need to install Rust. After that, install WASM32, WASI toolchain for Rust. Command for installing this toolchain is given below. Moving to the next part, we need to install Go. Next, install Python along with two Python libraries need to be installed that are sudo and pydantic. We also need to install Tacklebox with a particular version mentioned below. This is also in Python package. Further, we need to install OpenWhisk CLI, which helps to interact with OpenWhisk for deployment. After the installation of prerequisites, moving to the next part for that. First, YAML file needs to be created, which will be created by the user. Next, we need to convert this into a workflow. Command mentioned here is used for creating the workflow. Change the directory to Composer and run this command for creating workflow. Here we have to give the path for the YAML file in the command. After this, workflow file will be created, which needs to be deployed on OpenWhisk. But we cannot directly deploy this workflow WASM on OpenWhisk. So first, we need to convert this workflow WASM into an executable file. This command is used to convert the workflow WASM into executable file. After this step, we will get a .zip file which contains the executable. Now moving further, we will deploy the workflow to the OpenWhisk using this command. Here the Polkadot payout will be the action name of our workflow, which we can change according to the user need. Moving to next part, we can now invoke actions in the OpenWhisk using invoke method in OpenWhisk CLI. These were all we need to know theoretically. We can move to the practical level. Now you are seeing a config file structure. Here we can get a rough idea about how YAML config will be. It contains 3 sections. 1. Tasks. 2. Flows. 3. Workflow. Tasks refer to actions and their properties that need to be executed. Flows refers to what will be the order of execution of the task. The workflow section will define about workflow. These 3 sections also have their own hooks that are used for code conversion purpose. Task hook is used to generate Rust code for actions. Kind field that defines the action whom to interact with. Name field mention the action name. Input arguments tells the input for action needed for the execution. It contains name and type. Used for mentioning the action input name and data type, task can be defined according to the user need. Flow hook is used for creating the execution code based on the flow order. Flow hook contains 3 types. 1. Init. 2. Pipe. 3. Term. Init is the starting point of the workflow. Pipe will tell to the workflow which action to be executed next and any dependencies. Term defines the last action to be executed. Now I am explaining about an example for the workflow config. In here, you can see an action in OpenWhisk kind action with name car type. The car type action need an input that is car type of string type, and the output of this car type action is char company list of type hashmap of string and vector of string. Properties field will tell about the properties of OpenWhisk like host address, authentication, etc. Now further moving to create a workflow file. We have already created a YAML file with all the configuration for Polkadot payout. This command will help to create a workflow WASM using the composer. This will take some time. We can forward the video. And now we can see WASM file has been created. Now we need to convert this workflow WASM into an workflow executable file that can further be deployed on OpenWhisk. So the executable file needs to be moved inside the runtime OpenWhisk folder, and henceforth we run the command given. Further running this command, an output.zip file will be created. Now we are going to locally deploy workflow on OpenWhisk. Locally run the OpenWhisk. Set up the OpenWhisk CLI for local deployment. After that, we're going to deploy the created workflow. After deploying to OpenWhisk, we can call deployed workflow using postman or with curl command with necessary inputs. Here we are using postman. We have given the OpenWhisk deployed action URL. In Postman, we have to give all the input need for the execution of an action, which can be derived from the YAML. After request has been processed, we will get response that contains the transaction ID. This was the end of this video. Thank you.